you can able to see the slide there, right?
Yeah, I'm able to see it.
In the UT. Pranav?
Yeah, it's fine and perfect.
Okay. Okay, so we can start. So good evening, everyone. Good evening to the guest of honor, the student of LLB school, as well as CPMB, TNA, and my fellow members. I, Dr. Mahesh Veluswamy from the team of LLB school, and also a fellow alumni of CPMB TNAU. I welcome everyone on behalf of LLB School for our second session of International Career Talk webinar series on the topic Successful Journeys of Biotechnologists and Bioinformaticians. And today I'm very delighted to host my beloved senior and also proud alumni of CPMB, Dr. Dhyan, who is currently working as an assistant maize breeder at Incredian United States of America. And today he'll be talking about interdisciplinary career journey in life science and lessons learned and opportunities, and mostly it will be based on plant breeding aspect. So before handling the session to Dr. Dhyan, I would like to give some important technical notes. So hello sir, can you change the slide, the next slide?
Yes.
So here are some important technical notes for all the participants in WebEx and also for people in UT. So for the people in WebEx, kindly turn off your webcam and also mute your microphone to have a better webinar session, and also try to note down all your questions, which will be addressed at the end of the session. And do not forget to send your feedback at the end of the session. We will share the feedback link through our Telegram, Biotech Telegram group. So the next slide, sir. And recording feedback link. First of all, you should, and the people from YouTube, please subscribe our YouTube channel to confirm your presence and join our biotechnology Telegram group. And there we will send the feedback link around 8:30 p.m. and it will be removed in 10 minutes. And while downloading your certificate, type your name without any mistake, spelling mistake or something. Also, if you miss the link or if you have a mistake in your name, we are not responsible and we won't respond to any emails regarding certificate. Yeah. So now I request Mr. Godwin to give a brief keynote about Dr. Dhyan. So please, Godwin, you can. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mahesh. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Godwin James. I am a PhD student at National University of Ireland, Galway, and I study plant epigenetics. Currently, I am a part of IMOT team, a platform for sharing knowledge about agriculture and environment. I'll be hosting this session today. So it's my pleasure to welcome my senior and today's guest, Dr. Dhyan Palnisamy. Thanks for accepting our invitation to master's degree path, where he did MTech Biotechnology and Business Management from TNAU. For his other masters, he did his masters in Agricultural and Horticultural Plant Breeding from Cornell University. After finishing his master's degree, he moved to Cornell University to do his PhD in plant breeding and genetics. It's one of the prestigious schools in the world to do plant breeding. Currently, he is working as a assistant maize breeder in Ingredion Incorporated, Indianapolis, USA. Today, Dr. Dhyan will tell us about his journey in life sciences and what are the career opportunities available for biotech and bioinfo graduates. So I am excited to listen to you, Dr. Dhyan, and I'm sure the participants too. All the webinar attendees, please type your questions in the chat box. We'll direct your questions to Dan at the end of the talk. So the virtual floor is yours, Dr. Dhyan. Take it away.
Got it. Well, first of all, thank you everyone for giving me the opportunity to share my experiences. The talk is going to be divided into four different sections. First, I'm going to talk about my educational background and how I built my skill sets in each of those degrees that I acquired. And second, I'm going to talk about Ingredion. Ingredion is a very cool company to work for. I'm going to talk about why and who they are and how they play a very important role in the global food system. Then I'm going to talk about the opportunities that are there in plant breeding in industry in the United States. There are plenty of opportunities for research scientists in biotechnology in a different platform in academia, but in industry, it's very, very different than the opportunities that are available in academia. So that's going to be very cool and interesting. Then I'll talk a little bit about career planning in life science, and that's a very interesting talk also. So, hopefully you'll gain something in this talk and plan your life science career for a very successful journey. First, I did, like Godwin said, I have a bachelor's in biotech from my alma mater, TNAU. And then I did a master's in plant breeding and genetics. And then another master's in biotechnology and business management, and then did a doctor of philosophy in plant breeding and genetics. So in bachelor's, so during my undergraduate times, I learned a lot about biotechnology, but the important things I learned were about leadership. I was a joint club secretary, and I was also a dramatic secretary, which is basically student club activities, doing organizing things, and talking to other students, maintaining diplomacy against different groups. These are the skill sets that you develop during your undergrad. So, if you're if you're an undergraduate student, consider participating in leadership whenever you get an opportunity, and it would really help you, when you're trying to get in the real world. The next one is Master of Professional Studies. So after my undergrad, I got an opportunity to do an MPS at Cornell. Cornell University was ranked #1 for plant breeding education in the US at that time. So it was very exciting for me to join a very prestigious program like that. So in that program, I happened to attend a number of conferences, and I was able to understand international seed business and the opportunities within the seed business. Through my third degree, I had to come back to TNAU to finish my master's in biotech and business management. This is when I learned a lot about molecular marker-assisted breeding from my advisor, Dr. N. Senthil. And also, he gave me a good career advice on how to progress to do a PhD. Because at that time, I was thinking, okay, I have 3 degrees now. I should be able to get some kind of job. And then I think Dr. Senthil kind of explained why a PhD was very important for being incredibly successful in life sciences. And also, Dr. Peter Gregory, he was teaching a course in India, and he was also very instrumental in getting me to believe that I can actually do a PhD. Yeah. And the last one is my PhD times, and it was 7 years of learning a lot of things. I learned about breeding, quantitative genetics, and genomics. I'm going to talk about how I put together a cool resume using all the skill sets that I got from these degrees later in the talk. So research summary. So during my undergrad, I worked for a marker-assisted selection program for drought tolerance with Dr. Chandrababu. And he helped me to get into that lab mode and understand how to be a good lab scientist. I extracted DNA along with my colleague at that time. She also has a PhD now, Dr. Divya Raj. We extracted more than 1,000. We looked at more than 1,000 plants, and we extracted DNA from all of them using the regular CTAB method. And we did it with SSR marker analysis for all of them during our undergrad, which was kind of insane when you think about it. It's a lot of work, but Dr. Chandrababu really helped me understand how much time it would take and how exciting it could be to work in a marker lab. And then for my MPS, I worked in Dr. Mark Sorrell's lab in Cornell. He's one of the world's most well-known wheat breeders. And he had at that time, UG99 was a pathogen, a stem rust pathogen that was killing wheat plants like crazy in Africa, and it was heading towards India, and it was considered one of the biggest threats. We have COVID-19 going on now. It's kind of like the COVID-19 for wheat. It was killing everything. It's a fungal pathogen. So all plant geneticists, don't get mad at me, or plant pathologists. I'm just trying to give an example. So yeah, UG99 was kind of crazy at that time. So it was very exciting for me to work on a pathogen like that. I put together a list of stem rust resistant genes that has been found earlier in wheat breeding by all kinds of scientists. So it kind of helped me to understand how long people have been working on problems like disease resistance and how much work it really takes to actually breed resistance into crop plants. Finally, I came back to India for my master's. At that time, I worked on provitamin A in maize with beta carotene. I worked on marker-assisted selection project on selecting crop plants for disease resistance for provitamin A. And that was pretty cool because Dr. Senthil helped me to go to all these different field locations in southern India. Like, for example, I went to Uti once by myself and on lab assistant, and we went to pollinate plants, corn plants, and that's the time I really realized, okay, I can actually do this for a living, because the JRF at that time, the junior research fellow, she was done. She was exhausted in the field after like 10 minutes. And I had to finish all the pollinations, and I felt like, okay, I feel like I have the stamina to do this, and also I kind of like doing this plant breeding thing. So maybe I can build a career out of this. So that's one of the memories I really cherish. Dr. Senthil giving me the responsibility to, and believing in me that I can actually do a job without messing it all up. So that was, and then I applied for a PhD, right? So during my PhDs, it was also in maize, and I worked on multiple disease resistance. It's pretty hard to give a quick research summary, but I'll try. We had a multiple disease resistant inbred. I had to find out why it was multiple disease resistant. So basically, I created a mapping population, and it's a biparental mapping population, and then we did GBS on all the 296 individuals. It was resistant to 7 diseases, but we decided to do 3 disease resistant evaluations. So 296 families replicated twice, 3 locations in for 2 years. So it's a lot of plants. I collected all the disease data for northern leaf blight, southern leaf blight, for Stewart's wilt and gray leaf spot, and I used that data to map QTLs. And after I found all these QTLs, I did a co-localization study, and then I did a RNA-seq experiment in which I picked out the resistant and susceptible inbreds and tried to find out, what genes are expressed in the infected and the non-infected plants. So that was pretty big RNA-seq study, and I learned a lot about high-performance computation and genomic data analysis through that project. And then eventually, I also did some research on pedagogy, and pedagogy is basically the science of how to teach better. And I also did a study on how to work with science policy. So that was pretty cool. I'll talk about it later. So that's my quick research summary. Sorry if it was very quick, and if you're not able to follow. So I'll talk about Ingredion. Ingredion is a food company. So a lot of us, have heard about seed companies. The seed companies where we make seed and we mix it with chemicals. We sell seed and chemicals to farmers, and that's how seed companies make money. Ingredient company, we make our own seed. We sell it to farmers, and we get the corn, and we process it into different functional starches. Functional starches meaning each starch. There are different kinds of starches. The whole world of starch chemistry is just something that we need to familiarize ourselves with, because that's how the food industry looks at corn. It's not just corn. There are different kinds of corn. There's A5, 55% amylose, A7, 70% amylose, A9, 90% amylose, and these different amylose percentages can cause different functional properties in food ingredients. So we make that these starches, and then we sell it to Nestle, Coca-Cola, Pizza Hut, KFC, Pepsi, you name it. We have a lot of customers, and we make very good money. So our purpose. So our company really believes in bringing the potential of people, nature, and technology together to make life better. So we are a very consumer-focused company, and we believe in technology, but we also value our consumers very much. More about Ingredion. We have customers in more than 18,000 customers in 120 countries. So we're very, very global, and we have more than 11,000 employees. We are a Fortune 500 company, and our net sales in 2019 was 6.2 billion. We are headquartered in just outside Chicago, Illinois, which is like 2 hours from Indianapolis, which is where I'm located right now. And we have a global network of idea labs. So we're constantly learning from the consumers, and we're trying to provide products that would please consumers. It's not company to consumer idea, it's consumer to company back to consumer's idea. So that's what really attracted me towards this company. So yes, it's a Fortune 500 company, and one of the things that I'm very proud about Ingredion is we've hit gender equality index 3 times in the past 3 consecutive years. So that's very important. And also, we're one of the most ethical companies for 7 consecutive years. So the ethics and gender equality and sustainability are very important for us. Consumer trends. Now, for bioinformaticists and biotechnologists, we spend a lot of time in the lab. We really don't think about consumers, but at the end of the day, it's all about the consumers, right? Especially in industry. So we care about the convenience. We think about what consumer really needs. What do they want? And most of you are probably enjoying food from your hostel dorms, and they're delicious, and you don't have to prepare anything, right? But for people who are outside that hostel or dormitory lifestyle, we have to make our own food, and it's not very convenient. When I first came to Cornell, I can't even make rice. It's kind of scandalous when you think about it. So convenience is something we care about a lot. We care about making the ingredients simple, health and wellness, clean label, and people want plant-based proteins. They're trying to move away from meats like chicken and beef and pork. We want organic and non-GMO products and reduced sugar. That's what consumers want. So Ingredion has made itself into a provider of these consumer needs. We focus on solving these consumer needs. So it's going to be. So we care a lot about starch-based texturizers. That's a major part of our company's revenue. And then we also care about clean and simple ingredients, plant-based proteins, sugar reduction, and specialty sweeteners. So all the stevia products that you're seeing in Diet Cokes and Diet Pepsis, we help with that. And also we care about food systems. How much processed food that consumers eat. We kind of try to think about having a healthy lifestyle for the consumer also. So our growth, so we produce a lot of cornstarch, and we have a stable business in that area. But when we think about growth or where we can grow, that's the area of plant-based proteins. So I'm going to talk about plant-based proteins and starch-based texturizers. Given since we don't have a lot of time, this is really the future of food in the U.S. And potentially in a global market. But this is what we think is going to drive growth in our company. So starch-based texturizers. So we get starch from different kinds of corn, different kinds of crops. We get starch from corn, cassava, potatoes, and rice. And we really, when you think about it, we produce a lot of our specialty starches from corn. So about 60% of the starch-based texturizers come from corn. The potential of cassava starches is really great. So it's 5.2 billion by 2028. So we really care about cassava starch. We have a factory in Colombia, and just completely focused on cassava production, and I'm involved in the cassava breeding area also. I'll talk a little bit more about my job responsibility later. Let's just finish with what the ingredient focuses on. Then we have potato starches and also rice starches, and they're also a very significant portion of our business. Plant-based proteins. So lately, you might have heard about plant-based burgers manufactured by Burger King, and you're probably thinking, okay, why would people want to eat plant-based burgers? Because they're considered very healthy. They're considered, very sustainable to produce, and it's $100 million opportunity. Consumers care so much about eating plant-based proteins. We just can't say we can work on it. And our competitors like Cargill and Tate & Lyle, they're also working on plant-based proteins. So get ready for a world where plant-based proteins are just more than eating chickpeas or yellow lentils. It's going to be a real market, and by 2024 we expect the market to be $9.4 billion. So everyone who's working on proteins, and that you have job opportunities in plant-based area, protein area. All right, so specialty ingredients. So specialty starches, pulses, and functional flours. These are the three areas where I'm directly involved in. So our entire business, it used to be 30% of specialties in 2019, but it's going to be 34 to 36% of specialties in 2020. So we are looking forward to, we're growing really fast. Our research group is growing really fast. Our sustainability program. So we care about, the plant life, everyday life of consumers. We also care about a connected life of consumers and countries. So our company goals are very aligned with the purpose of our company, and our supply chains are very solid. We supply ingredients to major food manufacturers for a long time, and in a very stable manner. So our sustainability goals, we source 2.8 million metric tons of crops globally in 2019, and we exceeded 10% carbon emission intensity, and we also exceeded the 10% global water use intensity. And we're looking to source 100% of all our corn, tapioca, potato, peas, and stevia crops sustainably by 2025. I mean, that's pretty amazing. Think about it. Like all the Coke and Pepsi and all the processed foods you're getting, they're all sustainably sourced. I mean, that's a big direction towards making our world a better place to live for everyone. So what do I do with Ingredion? Yes, Ingredion is a big company. and it's a food manufacturing company. And I help with breeding the specialty maize. So I'm an assistant maize breeder. So I breed with A5 corn for our company. A5 is 55% amylose. I also help with the plant protein part. So I also work with peas and do data science. So we have locations all over the world, as you can see. So the factory side, we have factories that manufacture starch and proteins and other stuff. So as you can see, we have factories everywhere, and for all over the place, you have to make corn or pulses and send them to these factories. And these corn or pulses, they need to have a specific functional property that the engineers are looking for, and they should also be adapted to these different locations. So we grow them out and we test them in these different locations. I analyze the weather data all over the world, from Asia, North America, South America, Europe, Pakistan. So I get data from all over the places, I analyze it, and give them reports on weather. And I also look at the hybrid data. So it's a lot of data analysis involved. And I also look at how we can improve on starch and protein chemistry. So I'm learning a lot about the chemistry side of the business. So if you're one of those persons who think, okay, once you get a job, it's all about working and not learning, you're completely wrong. It always has to be learning. And if you're in a position where it doesn't let you learn, you should probably looking towards learning. Just at least you should start learning. So that's we recently built a factory for protein isolates in South Sioux City in Nebraska. And that's going to be really cool for us to work with. And also we acquired a company called Pure Circle that produces a lot of stevia. And we are looking into studying stevia and their genetics and how to make them better. We have factories in Hamburg, in Germany, and in Shandong, in China. They have not been shown in this picture, but they are there. So you can Google them. So traits, plant breeders care about yield in most situations. However, anyone who has worked with rice breeding in southern India understands quality is very important. And we care a lot about quality here. We care. So let's say your mom goes to a store and for Sunday lunch, she's trying to prepare biryani. And, the guy in the store has only idli rice. Well, do you think she'll buy that rice? No, she'll never buy that rice to make biryani. And that's the same way with corn here. You can't use certain kind of corn to make a certain kind of product. So, for example, yogurt. Yogurt in America. We don't care about fermenting and all that. We do it all ourselves. But in America, yogurt needs to have a certain texture, for the consumers. So if it doesn't have that texture, they would need it. It needs to have certain color, certain texture, and certain starches help with that process. So, that starches need to be really, really specific. So if I make a high yielding corn that does not have that texture or provide that texture to that yogurt, we won't be successful. The same way, freeze and antifreeze property. So, there are a lot of frozen foods. Like, for example, you get a DiGiorno pizza, a frozen pizza from store, and, you put it in the oven, take it out, it looks very fresh, beautiful, right? But you make the pizza by yourself, and you store it in, or let's say you make a dosa and you freeze it, and you try to eat it again, it won't taste the same. That's because the cold swelling properties of starches. So starches are like little bags, and they're packed inside of corn. And these bags have amylose and amylopectins, right? When you freeze and refreeze and, or freeze and thaw, the starch, the bags break usually, and they'll send out all the amylose and amylopectin. That's why you have this kind of soggy texture. and a lot of people don't like the soggy texture. But our starch does not. Those bags don't break. So you have good cold spelling properties. So that's something to that's for food science people, but I think that's interesting for us to know that we really care about these things. And in academia, we care a lot about biotic stresses, abiotic stresses, and adaptation traits. In industry also, we do care about these traits, and we have specific markers. And we collaborate with other seed companies and genetics companies to get our yield biotic stress, abiotic stress, and adaptation traits. We usually breed for quality and also yield traits. So that's interesting. Career planning and life science. Okay, so I was born on a tea plantation in southern India. Okay, now I'm an assistant mace breeder in Ingredient Incorporated in Indianapolis, and that does not happen, in a smooth way. It's always, there's so many steps that I did not foresee or I did not plan for it. I did not think that I will be here. Even my dreams. Anyone who knew me in undergrad probably thought I was going to be a drama guy, in some movies, or they probably thought I would, not be a scientist really, because at that time I was not really interested in these things, in science really. But what I happened to have, I had really good mentors that helped me put my life together and think about where I want to go. So you need to have, first you need to have dreams, and then you have to work on those dreams, make goals for yourselves. And these are like the 4 things that I think is important to pursue a PhD. So before you start doing a PhD, make sure you have the passion for it, because and that passion can be learned. Like if you don't have the passion, you can develop that passion slowly. So if you're thinking, okay, I don't have the passion, you can actually learn more about it and become passionate. And be open to new ideas. Just don't think that there's just one right way of doing things. There are several ways to do one thing, and you can always talk to people and get their ideas and make it work for you. And obviously you got to credit them, but it's still your project works, right? Resilience. So if you're doing a PhD, setbacks happen, and you just can't take it personally. That's a part of the process, and you need to understand that. And work-life balance. So you need to protect your mental health, physical, and spiritual health when we're going through a long, grueling process like a PhD. All right, so after PhD, so now let's say you've done your master's and you've done your PhDs and you have published your papers and you're ready to look into the job market. So where does a plant breeding PhD person go? Or I'll talk about a little bit about skill sets. Just having plant breeding expertise is not enough. You need to have expertise in multiple fields because we live in an age of systems biology. Just one expertise is not enough anymore. So I'll talk a little bit about it later, but I'll talk about opportunities. So first, you can go to USDA or ICR, National Research Centers. So you'll have a very strong research career if you first go to these research centers, because the merit system is based on publishing papers, and you'll publish a lot of papers in national research centers. Obviously, in academia, you can also do that. You can look for a postdoc position, which is pretty common for a lot of people to do, or you can get a teaching postdoc, or you can be an assistant professor. But being an assistant professor is not as easy as most people think. It's very, very competitive, at least in the United States. It's more harder to become an assistant professor than an NBA basketball player. Okay, so it is very, very hard. And industry. In industry, you have seed industry, food industry, startups, third-party service companies. Like for example, I don't do PCRs anymore. We have third-party people who help me do PCRs. we don't even do, genome sequencing, or, most of the wet lab can be outsourced now. So, and those companies need, technicians, to do all these, jobs. So, there are a lot of opportunities there. One company that comes to my mind is KeyGene, and they're pretty good. They're actually helping us right now with a lot of things that we're doing. And then, obviously CJR institutions, ICRISAT, IRI, and CIMMYT, if you don't know what these are, and if you're in plant breeding or in agriculture, you need to know these. ICRISAT is located in Hyderabad. They work on arid and semi-arid crops. IRI is located in Philippines. They work on rice. CIMMYT is located in Mexico. They work on wheat and maize. There are a bunch of other CG institutions you can work for, and that they're very prestigious. But the challenges are real. You have to travel across oceans, and these institutions are very research focused. And they're awesome to work for. Don't get me wrong, but planning a career around CG institutions after talking to multiple people, I've learned that the experiences differ for different people, and I also want to know, like after talking to these people, I kind of learned that um, the it's harder to see the big picture for some people in these companies. Okay. In these institutions. And I'll talk about the big picture that I'm talking about. So if you're working in a lab, you're probably focused on a single problem, or you're working on it for several hours, right? And you sometimes forget, why am I doing this? I've been working on this data analysis for so long. How am I actually contributing to the society? Can I even talk to my parents about this? Can I even talk to my grandparents about how I'm actually contributing to the society? So that's the big picture. So if you have that big picture with you, I think you will be able to find opportunities. You can make opportunities for yourself. So that's important. So interdisciplinary life science career. So when I was in graduate school, plant breeding, I obviously was doing a PhD in plant breeding. I had background in plant biotech. I did a lot of genomic data analysis, bioinformatics, phenomics. I worked on high performance computation and data analysis, science communication, and teaching. So that was really was one of my passions. I love to teach. And then I also worked on quantitative genetics, statistics, science policy. And all these, things have to come together in a PhD program. And you need to prioritize. And, recently, with the rise in information technology, there are new technologies coming towards plant breeding or plant genetics every day. And we need to be aware of these new technologies, and we need to know how to use them in plant breeding. So when I started my PhD, drones were not even a thing. We didn't even understand. We were not even talking about phenomics. That was not a thing. But in just a couple of years, phenomics became like the major driving thing or innovative thing in plant breeding. So all the first plant breeding students were expected to know all about phenomics, and it's so hard to learn everything very quickly, and then you have to suddenly jump to another area of expertise, right? So there are a number of areas of expertise that people will expect you have, you to have skill sets in, and you really need to like think for yourselves and understand who you are as a scientist, and prioritize your skill development time. I can go on internet and work, find videos on how to code in Python, and just do that for like 20 hours a week, and become an expert on that. But but I'm actually getting a PhD in plant breeding, right? So I need to focus on getting my skills in plant breeding, and then focus on, bioinformatics. So that's the balance that you need to figure out for yourself. And I think that has, and don't focus too much on just one field. You need to just spread your net wide, because jobs in plant sciences and life sciences are not as abundant as one would expect. There are so many graduates in plant sciences and life sciences in agriculture, but the opportunities are very minimal. So you need to make yourself look more attractive to the job seekers out there. So, all right. Now, breeding jobs in industry. So, so in industry, you can become the career path is like you first join as a line development breeder, and then you become a germplasm enhancement breeder, and then you become a commercial breeder, right? And in an ingredient company, you first join as assistant maize breeder, and a business scientist. And you need to have PhDs for this now. It used to be you can have a master's and become a line development breeder. No, not anymore. And all these jobs are really high paying in the US. They're like 100,000 starting. So that's something to remember. I mean, it varies. There's a range, obviously. It's 80 to 120 or whatever. But it's still very high paying, especially for a graduate student who's making like $30,000 a year. It's pretty high up there. And if you have bachelor's or higher, you can become a research assistant, research associate, field technician, farm manager. And these jobs are pretty good also, but you need to have the skill set to do these jobs and have the experience. They're always looking for experience. So if you don't have experience in farming or in ag, then it's harder to get the field technician, farm manager jobs. But I've seen a lot of people still get that because they are available all the time. Cool. So those are the kind of breeding jobs available in the industry. I know it's very specific. There are tons of research scientist positions available, and I'm going to try to help you understand how this all works. There are so many jobs available, but why are we, just from a leadership position, how are we looking at these jobs? Okay, so since I'm a plant breeder, I'm required to use this breeder's equation in every presentation I give. So I somehow found a way to include this in my presentation. So we breeders, we really just care about genetic gain over time. So that's the major thing that we care about. And the factors that contribute to that are genetic variance, selection accuracy, and selection intensity. And we need to increase these things, right? These metrics. So in order to increase these things, for example, for genetic variance, we need to get germplasm from public databases and private companies. And for that, the jobs that are available are germplasm manager, plant registration person, and you can be a regulator and stewardship manager. And for selection accuracy, we want to reduce errors, right? So molecular markers, drones, stats, and experimental design, they all come here. So statisticians, data scientists, molecular marker research associates, quantitative geneticists, genomic data scientists, native trace genomic data scientists, drone pilot technicians. So if you look at it, all these jobs that we thought, oh my God, this is probably the top of the top, right? Genomic data scientist, this should be so cool to be one. You need to understand you're part of an equation. We need to see that big picture. Okay, all that matters is genetic gain over time. That's what the industry cares about. Doesn't care about job titles. All we care about is genetic gain over time. Okay, so selection intensity. So in order to increase that, obviously plant manager, plant registration person. Actually, I think it's repetitive here, but really what selection increasing population means getting data from multiple sources or getting germplasm from multiple sources and work on making our populations bigger, so that we have a better selection. So whatever jobs that fits that role is what's constant, is what's available in the industry. And obviously we need to reduce the years per cycle. So winter nurseries and double haploid, so double haploid technicians, greenhouse managers, field technicians, they all fit here, years per cycle. One thing that we all need to realize and understand is that these jobs, there are new jobs are added in industry all the time, okay? And they all fit into this equation. It's all about the genetic gain. So, and that's how it has always been, and that's how it is. And if it's not that way, that job's going to go away in a couple of years, okay? So that's good. All right, now it's going to be story time. So I know this is a career talk, and and I am an early career scientist, right? So I just started my career. So I did talk to my mentors and give their advice for early career professionals. So I can give advice on how to get a PhD, but for getting after that, how to have a successful career, it has to come from people who actually have experience. So I just started it. So I talked to them, and these are the advices I got from them. So need to work hard and work smart. Plant breeding, it's a long game. It's like running a marathon, and it's like running a marathon in a bunch of marshland. So all the plant breeders that I know are successful, or my advisors know are successful, are working in the field. They're not afraid to get mud on their clothes. They work under sun. When it's hot, they work when it's raining. They don't worry about getting cold. All they care about is the plants, and they're able to spend around 8 hours in the field, no problem. And do serious science. So that's hard work. Working smart, meaning you also need to understand how you're going to spend your time on which project. You need to prioritize all your research projects. So that's obviously it comes with experience, but we always need to strive for that. And if you don't have enthusiasm or passion, it's hard to survive in plant breeding, because it can be a grind. It can take several years of a lot of data analysis, a lot of hard physical work, and things can still not work out. So it's important to understand that if you don't have the passion, you cannot survive it. You can't go through with it. When I was doing my PhD for the first year of my field science, we did not have enough seeds. So our planter could not plant all these seeds. So I had to hand plant them. So 296 families, it's 10 seeds each. Multiply that with 3 diseases, so 3 locations and 2 replications. So it's a lot of plants, right? So they had to plant them all in like a week's window, because if anyone really understands agriculture, you really know that if you don't plant the plants at the right time, you're going to miss your harvest. So I had to do it all within a week's time, and I was just hand planting all these plants. And I had a lot of passion for it. So I was, it kind of like made all that physical backbreaking work kind of fun. And I invited my friends, to help me the project, and they couldn't do it for very well, because it's not for everyone. It's pretty hard. Networking, and if you have enthusiasm and passion, all the other attributes like courage and it just follows. If you're very passionate about something or someone, you'll do anything to get that or them. And nothing will stop you. So that's the major trait. Networking. So sharing. So in the 90s and 2000s, it was all about knowledge is power. That's what we'll think that you probably heard when you're growing up. Knowledge is power. So if you're in a company, in an organization, only the powerful person has the knowledge, and he or she's considered the most powerful person. And that's what people cared about, having power, right? But in this era, all the leaders that I've talked to, all the vice presidents of big companies that I've talked to, all the presidents, CEOs I've talked to, they all talk about sharing knowledge is empowering, and they experience happiness through empowering than having the power. So it's all about being happy, right? So, if you're in a leadership position, some might think, okay, I have all the power, I'm happy now. That was old school thinking. The new school thinking is, okay, I have this knowledge, I'm going to share it with a bunch of people, and they're going to improve their lives, and that's going to make me happy. That's how people think now. And that's how you need to think. You need to network all the opportunities, you share it with your friends. This is a marathon. This is not a sprint. You need to share it with people so that you can finish it all together at the same time, or different time period. But eventually, you'll all be successful, and you can enjoy the fruits of your labor together. And there are plenty of opportunities out there, and you're not going to know about all the opportunities until some people really think you're a good person. So you'll be exposed to more opportunities through networking. Okay, be resourceful. Do multiple projects. 1 or 2 projects doesn't cut it. Okay, you have to work on like 5 to 6 projects at the same time. And one can be a big project, and things can be slow projects, because trust me, all projects don't work out. And you feel much better if you have one project working for you. New technology, so like the drones and the data analysis softwares and tools and programming skills and all that is important in plant breeding and in manufacturing. But scientists also try to use old tech and use it in new approaches to make progress. So you need to really educate yourself on the history of technology and how it's used in life sciences. For example, radiation, breeding, mutation breeding. It was a very old technique, but people are starting to use now to make really good progress on things that were pretty hard to make progress using a traditional scientific approach. So that's important to keep in the back of your mind. Resilience and persistence. You just can't give up. That's not how you get successful. You can give up on things when they're really starting to affect your mental and physical health. But you really need to push it until you really can. So resilience is important, and also you need to be persistent. So these are the advices that I got from my mentors on how to be successful in a long, successful career. So I'm learning too with you. I'm trying to improve on those skill sets with you. So that's something. The biggest picture. So in agriculture, we as agriculture scientists, we forget this. We thought as soon as we got the GM, genetically modified technology, we thought it was all about the GM technology, right? And in somewhere there, we forgot to talk to consumers and farmers about how it could be really helpful. I mean, obviously, this is just an opinion. This is not a fact, but this is how I feel about this. Mahatma Gandhi once said, "A customer is the most important visitor on our premises. He's not dependent on us. We're dependent on him. He's not an interruption to our work." Replace the he with the farmer here. He's the purpose of it. He's not an outsider on our business. He's a part of it. We're not doing him a favor by serving him. He's doing us a favor by giving us an opportunity to do so. So that's what, that we need to understand. Scientists don't really don't think about it. They always think like, okay, I found this great thing. How am I going to take this to farmers? And I'm going to convince them that this is the best thing for them to do. And they're going to grow it, and they're going to feed millions of people, and millions of people will be fed by the amazing innovation that I just made. That's not how world works. Farmers are their own people. Sometimes, even though there might be technologically advanced, it might not be economically feasible. It might not be culturally feasible. And we need to understand those things as scientists, not get mad about it. So a lot of scientists that I know in my undergrad, especially we're in biotech, they got really mad when people said no to GMOs. And I was mad too. I was very mad that, why are people not accepting the great science that we have provided for them, and I really wondered, where did we drop the ball on the genetically modified crops? And then it really is a lot of farmers like genetically modified crops, but a lot of people did not like it, and the consumers were really opposed to it. And we did a horrible job of communicating it to the consumers about genetically modified crops. And we all know what happened after that. We got an indefinite moratorium on genetically modified crops. I know some people say, okay, that's just a trade barrier that people are putting to protect our local farmers. Could be, but genetically modified making GM crops are not as expensive as it was before. So a lot of small businesses that are trying to, small scientific companies that are trying to do genetically modified crops now. So is it really worth doing it? So you need to think of it not only from the scientific lens, you also need to think from farmers. And I think all the farmers I've met has been the most wonderful people I've ever met, really. In southern India, we had a village day program during my undergrad, and that was one of the best memories that I still have. And even in the U.S., all the farmers that I've met have been more than generous to talk to me about, what they're doing, and they're just straight shooters. You get get what they're thinking. There's no, they're not with hidden agendas and things like that. So it's awesome to work with them, and we really need to consider why we're doing all this before we do it. So that's just my thought and opinion. But if you have more questions, just let me know. I'd love to answer them or to my best level. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for listening to this.
So thank you so much, Dr. Dhyan, for the wonderful talk. Now I request Mr. Godwin to take a question and answer session. So, Mr. Godwin.
Thank you, Dr. Dhyan. It's so nice to hear from you, your journey and everything. So we have some questions coming. Mm-hmm. So there's a question from Dr. Jagadish Kumar. Thanks for the amazing talk. And what is the motivation that drove you to choose industry-related research over academia?
So, like you mentioned on the talk, I always had the biggest picture, right? My career goal is to improve production and help farmers to make money, in agriculture. So, and I thought industry would help me achieving that goal. I'll be able to touch more lives through industry than academia. That was one of the major motivations. And the second motivation is obviously, finance. Free, pays at least 3 to 4 times when compared to, academia in most cases, at least in the US. So that was the second motivation. And I have a family, so I have to feed them. So I took a job in the industry, yes.
So the other question is, did you face any challenges in the start when you start the industry job? If any, how did you overcome it?
Oh, yeah, so many. I mean, really, this was, I think, when I just started the job, the COVID-19 situation started to happen. And I had a 3-month baby in our hands. So, we're trying to juggle a number of, family commitments. And I was moving my entire family from Cincinnati to Indianapolis at that time. So, and doing it all single-handedly because we can't hire any movers because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So when I started it, it was a crap show. And we were also preparing to plant, right? So we need to organize all those seeds, specifically. So this year was particularly challenging, but for everyone, and especially for me because of starting this new position. Thankfully, we were healthy. We didn't get any infections or anything like that. But the general challenges, in the industry is that we have a timeline in industry. We need to finish projects on time. We can't nothing can wait. I mean, in ag, it's true. In agriculture, Everything happens at a certain time, and you need to make it happen. You can't just wait around. For example, you need to plant the seeds at a certain time. You need to go harvest the seeds. You need to get the phenotypic data at a certain time. You just can't sit around and wait, like you could do in academia, because during my academia time, even though I did all the planting and all that correctly, I can do the data analysis and just wait on it, kind of procrastinate on it for a couple of months and be like, okay, I'll do it finally, enter. But here I can't do that. In a week, I need to have the data analysis done, and reports done. So that's, it's a challenge, but it's not huge. I mean, I think academia was more challenging than industry, because I was doing a number of different things in academia. It was, I was in the lab the whole day, like all the time. But in industry, I go to work at 8, come back at 5, call it a day. I mean, most lab people in India are thinking, you're crazy. How could you leave your lab at 5 p.m.? Because I know when I was in India, I would leave the lab at 2 a.m. or 1 a.m. That's the lifestyle we lived, right? So it's not that way in industry. Even in Corteva.
But Dr. Dhyan, sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
This also depends on the region, right? Because in Europe, we have completely different working style. Like as you said, we can start the lab at 9 and we can leave at 5 p.m.
See, I love that. I really love that about Europe, and and it's different in Singapore and in Japan. You're expected to be, and it also depends on what kind of advisors you have and all that. And laws in certain areas like Germany, you can't really call a person who's working for you after the working hours. It's illegal to do that. But in the U.S., we have the 8-hour workday law, so we take it very seriously. But really, we get a lot of things done very fast. We really don't, even after I come home, I sometimes work. So that's, dependent on projects. But really, I think in industry, the most challenging thing I've ever had was to finish projects on a certain time and paying attention to deadlines, those things. But yeah. Yeah, more questions?
Hello, Carvin. Hello, Carvin.
Sorry,
actually, you are muted. So can you unmute?
Okay. Yeah. So there is a question from Anurag.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's something related to a health point of view question. I wanted to know what companies like Coca-Cola and PepsiCo doing to reduce or find alternatives for high fructose corn syrup.
Oh yeah, that's a very good question. Thanks for that. High fructose corn syrup, I personally don't think it's as bad as what the media is making it out to be. It's sugar. We can still eat a bunch of fruits and get fat. We can still eat a lot of rice and get fat. It's all about personal discipline when it comes to intaking all these food, right? However, I do think we're doing pretty good when it comes to alternative sources of sugar. For example, we have looked at stevia. We have looked at allulose. You can Google what allulose is. It tastes very much like sugar, but it has none of the calories of sugar. And we built a major factory in Brazil for making just allulose, and all that is going to be going into Cokes, and sugar reduction is one of the major areas of research and ingredient, and we spend millions of dollars on it. So we bought a company called Pure Circle that did a lot of stevia research, and I have all their research material now, and we'll be looking at it. So it's we are taking it very seriously, and I think Coke and Pepsi, they also take it seriously. It actually comes from them. They came to us and said, "Hey, we want to reduce sugar," and we're helping them to do that. So we care about companies. Are not as evil as a lot of people make it out to be. They want to make money, yes, but we actually want to make our consumers happy first. That's That's what companies care about. So now, if you want organic food, guess what? We will shift to organic foods. We don't care as long as you buy stuff from us, right? So yeah.
So there is a question from Professor Nyanam. So what's the status of double haploid research in your company? How do you generate haploids through inducer lines or other strategies?
Yeah. So double haploid lines, they're pretty important to reduce the number of years that are required to release hybrid. So when you're doing what we do, we actually hire a company to do double haploid research for us. We've gotten very comfortable with outsourcing, especially in ingredient. We outsource almost most of the research stuff to other companies, third-party companies, and it has come to the point, especially the double haploids. All I have to do is send them our inbreds, and they will make double haploids for us and send the seeds back. It's that easy, And it takes us around 3 months to get them back, and then we'll test them and see if they actually work for us. And if not, they'll work for us again. So it's that easy, and it's expensive, for academic research program. For industry, our budgets are a little different. So yeah.
So Raiz Ahmed asks, what do you think about future of GMO derived products? Many companies promote only organic or non-GMO products. Is it due to customer demand or really GMO based products are not successful?
Okay, this is a very loaded question considering where we are now. But since this is a global forum and I really like TNAU and I don't want to lie to you guys, I'm going to say the truth. Okay. It's really all about creating trade barriers. Okay. It's not about scientific motivation for most countries to say, hey, we don't like your, GMO corn because of the genetically modified aspect of it. Everyone knows that GMOs are not poisonous, okay? But they will say that we don't want it because they want to protect their farmers. In America, producing corn is very cheap. Can you imagine, like 100 bushels of corn coming in from the US, and the local farmer in France, they're probably looking at it and they're thinking, okay, I can't compete with this. This guy is impossible, right? So their governments in Europe, especially, they've designed these trade barriers against genetically modified crops, so that they can protect their local farmers, and that's all that is. And GMO derived products, I think, countries like Brazil and the United States, well, they'll be going on with GMO derived products for manufacturing. However, global companies like Nestle and Coca-Cola, they want to sell their products to all the customers around the world: Europe, Africa, India, China. So they want to have a product that would not cause them more problems. So that's why they're going with clean products. Clean meaning non-GMO, organic products. So all these labeling is important for more of the business and trade policy level than the scientific level. So GMO products are not poisonous. Most of them, are not poisonous. At least all the things that have made it to market have been through more testing than all the traditional plant varieties have gone through. So I think that's something that scientists need to understand. It's not really about the science; it's politics. Yeah.
So I just want to add a point, like India not approved, I think it's approved the field trials for 2 brinjal varieties.
That's awesome.
2 days ago, yeah.
Thanks, Robert. Thanks for letting me know.
Yeah.
So the moratorium is lifted, do you think?
Yes, yeah. So in 7 states, they have allowed the field trials to continue. Yeah.
That's great. ISA and International ISAAA, I think that's the abbreviation. They have worked tirelessly with to commercialize genetically modified crops in India, Bangladesh, and I'm really glad to hear that. It was pretty
Yeah.
nice.
I think we are running out of time. Probably will take 2 questions quickly. So Neelima asks, how can one fill the gap between a fresh graduate and requirements essential for a industry job?
Fresh graduate with a PhD, or
I'm not sure. Probably.
okay, so it's different. I think it really is about selling yourself to the industry. With all the skills that you've gained during your education. Okay, so and industry, they only have certain job positions to be filled. And we have a lot of graduates out there. So try to distinguish yourself, through other skill sets. Teaching and communication, they're important skill sets in industry. I had to talk to people from all over the world, communicate to them with respect and understand their feelings, and because believe it or not, most of the people who are in industry are humans, and you need to learn how to communicate to these humans effectively, and also in a less time consuming way. And that, so, communication and teaching skills are important. So that's one option. The other option would be, like data science and informatics, tools. Those are also important because you can learn to make efficient presentation of all the scientific results that you have using those tools. So for Neelima, I would really look for a mentor. A mentor meaning a person who you think is really cool and you can trust, and they're very successful. And try to contact them, ask them for advice, and they'll in that industry, and they'll help you. Most people want to help you; they want to see you succeed. Very few people want you to fail. And those are, but most people in my experience, just want you to do well. So just don't be afraid to ask for help or guidance, and people will help you.
So I think Nana ma'am has one more question. So that will be our last question. So how popular is stevia tea? What is your comment on stevia sites and rebidio sites? I think that's compounds in the stevia.
Okay, so about, I don't know if I can say this information, but we have made some significant progress with the stevioid compounds. There are 2 ways to do it. You can extract these compounds separately, and using manufacturing techniques, or you can use fermentation techniques to use those certain genes to make the certain stevioid compounds. And I'm not mentioning these compounds because I can't, okay, but I can tell you the process. And we're very successful at that. So we have created stevioid compounds that are more beneficial for the consumers, and they're better than the old stevia compound. So all the old stevia, the Coke that you were drinking 2 years ago that did not taste really good, that had stevia, it's not going to be the same anymore. It's going to be a better Coke. The stevia's quality has increased, and it's not going to upset your stomach. It's going to be better. Okay. Yeah. So fermentation techniques, that's the major thing that you take away from this. It's not about manufacturing anymore.
Thank you, Dan. I think it's all questions for now, and I'll be talking to you more about. I have some questions probably later.
Okay,
I think I will hand it over to Mahesh.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Mr. Godwin, for the question and answer session, making very interactive question and answer session. And also, I thank Dr. Dhyan for answering all the questions with more patience. Yeah, so thank you so much again. So now I request Professor Jnanam to give a vote of thanks from the Department of Mathematics, CPMB, TNU. So, ma'am, please, you can go ahead with me.
Yeah, sure. I profusely thank the guest speaker, Dhyan, Assistant Maize Breeder, Indianapolis, US, for his wonderful presentation with beautiful and professional slides. I really appreciate his patience and perseverance he had during his study period. He was mentioning it's more than 7 years, which is clearly indicating that the same kind of passion and the patience one should have in order to reach higher heights. Like we are really proud of you to note that you are as a part of one of the most admired ethical and gender equality company, which is spreading across 120 countries with the greatest market turnover. Really, it's a very great news to hear about that. I'm also thankful to Dhyan for indicating the important points to the students, particularly, the preparedness to have interest in the research, the willingness for interdisciplinary research, and, very nicely he was mentioning about formula genetic gain over the time. I think breeders will really appreciate the way, it was explained and the opportunities that are ahead in depth based on his personal experience. Really, the session was very interesting and very useful for the students. Thanks, Dhyan, for sharing your time and sharing your personal experience. And next, I would like to extend my thanks to Godwin for introducing the guest today. A big thanks to LLB team, particularly Magesh, Pranav, and his whole team for taking pains in organizing this kind of webinars, specifically for the students of Biotech and Bioinformatics. I also thank Director CPMB for permitting us to conduct such kind of webinars in the weekends. I would like to thank all the participants for having taken time to listen to such kind of useful webinars. Thank you, one and all. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you so much, ma'am. So it was thank you so much on behalf of LLB School for supporting us. And from the beginning, from the earlier days to now, you are giving a lot of support. So thank you so much for that. So with your permission, and Dr. Dhyan, with your permission, can we have some announcements?
Yes, but I would like to first thank you,
Yeah,
Mahesh, for giving me the opportunity to do this.
Mm.
And also I thank Yana ma'am and Godwin for helping me have this interactive session with students. And really appreciate having the opportunity to spend time with our alumni. So this is really great. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dhyan. So,
Thank you.
so we have a small announcement for all the students. So, like, if you are wondering, like, what is LLB School and what we are doing, the main objective of LLB School is to connect the students, active researchers, and professionals from the biology and also from the mathematics. Our objective is to connect all the biology fields to bioinformaticians. So that is our main objective. So if anybody looking for collaborators or freelancers or any courses related to biology or bioinformatics, or if you are looking for one-to-one counseling related to your research or courses, you can always visit our website llbschool.org, and you can subscribe there as experts, and also you can look for all the service that we are providing. So Pranav, can you change the next slide? So these are the 4 services that we are providing. So you will able to see the collaborators and freelancers, and also all the tutors from biotechnology and bioinformatics background, and also we will have an expert consultant, as I said before. And last but not least, that we want to thank our webinar collaborators, CPMB TNAU, and also IMART Agri Forum for supporting us and helping us to reach many agriculture graduates and plant-related students. So thank you so much, both the teams. So that's all for today, and we will update the feedback link in our Telegram Biotech group. So please stay there and get the feedback link. So thank you so much, everyone. Hope to see everyone in the next session. Thank you so much. Yeah. So, Dr. Dhyan, we can have a small chat session after.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mhm. Thank you.
Dr. Magesh, sorry, I will leave. I can leave now.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thanks.
Yes,
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nyana ma'am, for coming today.
Thank you.
Cool. Gavin, which year are you in?
Sorry, sir, say that again.
Which year are you in?
Hello,
I am in
sir.
second year, sir.
You can stop the light there.